gets nailed. Perfect shot on the button. He goes down. His arm just won't hold him up. Wow. What a knockout for Yoel Romero.
Competing in MMA in old age is risky and bold.
Yeah, 93. This is when I started fighting. Imagine that. That's how old I'm, a freaking fossil.
Considering that each new generation is better than the previous.
Okay, whatever that's supposed to be, but let's break that apart, because if that's true, then you're telling me guys from 20 years ago simply could not compete today with their skill set.
This sport is for young competitors who are hungry and motivated. The older a fighter gets, the bigger the chance is that a new upcoming athlete would knock him out and send him straight to retirement.
100% you'll be in the Hall of Fame, and 100% you've had a special career, and it's been an honor to call your fights and to be your friend. Thank you very much, my friend. Donald Cerrone, ladies and gentlemen.
Most fighters can compete at the elite level until their mid or late 30s, and they slowly or rapidly decline after that. Meet Yoel Romero.
And the only guy who freaked me out was Yoel. Yoel Romero would look so big at 185, you're like, how is that 185? How is it even possible? He looks like a heavyweight.
The lab specimen that defies old age and still competes and knocks elite fighters out cold. The Soldier of God is one of the most intimidating fighters in MMA history. Looks like the Incredible Hulk on steroids.
He was
That's what I know, and believe me, I don't understand what happened. I'm very serious, I know, because this supplement, I take it.
Right.
I take it.
And his athletic abilities are beyond anyone's understanding. If you look at his physique, there is no way you would have thought Yoel is 46 years old. He looks like a modified video game character, jacked up from head to toe, and his performances in the octagon even exceed his intimidating look.
This, and you see, starts to respond. He gets nailed. Perfect shot on the button. He goes down. His arm just won't hold him up. He's trying to get back up, and Yoel swarms him.
Although he is close to 50, he is still a top 5 bellator fighter who might soon become a champion. We will look at Yoel Romero's career and how he climbed up to the top of the MMA food chain from being an Olympic wrestler.
I've known Joel since he got to America, and I was a fan of him before. I remember watching him compete in the Olympics, and obviously he's Cuban, so my whole family, everybody, we're always cheering for this dude.
Even though it seems many years ago, Yoel started to train wrestling in the 1990s. But according to him, he goes back long before that. I do that weight for a long time. The first time when I fight in this weight was 1897. It's no problem for me. It's many years.
25 years I do that way for a long time. The first time when I fight in this way is in 1897.
1997.
He quickly learned and developed in this sport and soon represented Cuba at the senior level in the FILA Wrestling World Championships, held in non-Olympic years from 1997 to 2005. By defeating the Russian wrestler and 1996 Olympic gold medalist Kazimierz Magomedov, Romero became the world champion at the 1999 World Wrestling Championships. He could become a world champion again in 2002, but his luck ran away this time. Although he took the 3-2 lead against Adam Saeed after landing a 3-point throw, he was penalized a point due to passivity with only 20 seconds remaining. In the interim, it was judged Saeed had scored. And the Soldier of God was prevented from winning the world title again. Yoel represented his home nation of Cuba in wrestling in the 2000 and 2004 Summer Olympics. After losing to Adam Saeed in the finals, Romero went home with a silver medal in the 2000 freestyle competition and finished 4th in 2004. The Cuban wrestler has notable victories over 5 world champions and 3 Olympic gold medal winners, such as Cal Sanderson and Les Gutches. After winning the Grand Prix of Germany in the summer of 2007, he did not return to Cuba and found a new home there. Yoel competed in wrestling in the local German leagues in the following years. But eventually transitioned to MMA. Since wrestling is an essential part of MMA, the Cuban fighter quickly merged his skills into the new sport, and 2 years after winning the Grand Prix of Germany, he made his MMA debut. Although Romero is an Olympian with superior wrestling credentials, he mainly uses his wrestling defensively rather than offensively. Training in wrestling helped him acquire incredible explosivity, power, and the ability to shut someone's lights off with one punch. Instead of utilizing his wrestling to take the fight to the ground, and controlled his opponents in a Dagestani style, the Soldier of God prefers boxing as his primary weapon of choice, with most of his victories coming by knockout. Yoel started his MMA career as light heavyweight and debuted on December 20th, 2009 against Sasha Weinpolter.
Like his first fight, he didn't even train.
It's very funny because so you can see the first fight when I have it.
The Cuban fighter needed only 48 seconds to TKO the opponent and made a statement that MMA is his new home.
Yeah, here it is. Is this it right here?
Yeah, look at it.
Wow, this is crazy. Look, he throwing kicks, man. And this is no training.
No. Look at this. Look at
Wild.
that.
The Soldier of God was too much for his next 3 opponents to handle and won against all of them by stoppage before making his debut with Strikeforce. The lack of MMA experience was crucial in his next fight against Rafael Cavalcante, as Yoel lost the bout via second-round KO.
Zhao with his best punch of the night. And Beijao hurts him. Beijao has him staggered, has him down. Beijao puts it away. Whoa!
However, that bout was a learning experience, and like a Saiyan warrior, Romero returned better than ever, a 2.0 version of himself eager to conquer the UFC next. When the Soldier of God made his UFC debut on April 20, 2013 against Clifford Starks, he was only 10 days away from turning 36 years old. Yoel entered that bout very cautiously, and he stayed reserved and composed as he was trying to figure the opponent out. His passivity gave the opponent a fake sense of security that he could attack Romero and get away with that. But unfortunately for Starks, Romero had a different plan that night. As the American approached Yoel, the Cuban fighter launched himself in the air and exploded with a vicious flying knee that landed clean.
Season 1 to a guy who's a dangerous knockout artist today.
Oh, flying knee. That rocked him looking to finish it.
He followed Starks to the canvas and ended the show with heavy ground and pound strikes, a display of dominance that earned him the Performance of the Night bonus. Yoel Romero put the middleweight division on notice by delivering a scary knockout that it's rarely seen in the UFC. The statement was made, and the middleweight division got a new prospect with the potential to become the UFC champion. In the next bout, Romero was scheduled to face the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Ronnie Marques. The Brazilian fighter tried to take the fight to the ground and use his grappling credentials to end the contest with a submission. But thanks to his wrestling pedigree, Yoel kept scrambling and getting back on his feet.
Takedown, and Romero right back up to his feet. Kimura spins to the single.
Yoel kept tagging Marques with strikes and finally, in the 3rd round, delivered a big left overhand that knocked the Brazilian down.
And he's earned all of his wins by knockout. Right when you said that, it's all over. I said, right on cue.
Romero followed him there and finished him with vicious ground and pound strikes. On January 15, 2014, the Soldier of God was scheduled to face the UFC veteran Derek Brunson. In the opening round, Brunson delivered a heavy head kick that landed clean, but the Cuban fighter took it as if it was nothing. By taking that shot, he showed that he had a granite chin and that it might take more than a few powerful shots to knock him out. Since both fighters were good wrestlers, they kept fighting for control, but each of them refused to give up position, especially during the first round. In the second round, they kept the fight standing, exchanging shots.
Nice elbow from Brunson. And another nice left hand from Brunson as well.
But at the end of the round, Brunson managed to take Romero down and have some control times from the mount position. In the third, both Yoel and Brunson were visibly tired, but the Cuban appeared to be slightly the fresher fighter going into that round. Romero landed a big left hook that wobbled the American, and he kept the momentum by keeping Brunson on his back foot, constantly tagging him with strikes until he gave up his position by falling on the canvas. The Cuban maintained the dominant position and punished the American with punches and elbows until the referee had seen enough and waved the fight off. A victory over Derek Brunson is not a walk in the park for anyone, and this win aged well, considering how good Brunson had become in the following years. In the next bout, Romero faced the 10 years younger Brad Tavares, who was a minus 120 favorite in that fight.
It's a middleweight contender fight between two guys with a lot of promise.
Although on paper, it seemed that Tavares would be a hard pill to swallow, Yoel controlled the fight from the opening bell, and the younger fighter had nothing for the Cuban that could cause him any trouble. The Soldier of God was winning the striking exchange, and whenever they clinched, he kept taking Tavares down at will. Yoel stayed composed, and out of nowhere was exploding at Tavares with a fury of punches, mixing his wrestling with striking, dominating the fight in every department. Although the American survived to hear the final bell, the fight was ruled in Yoel's favor.
10 seconds. What a way to finish a fight, where a lot of it has taken place. Top position for the Soldier of God.
And I'll say this, how much would you love to see this guy versus Chris Weidman? I mean, come on, I get you.
On September 27, 2014, the Cuban fighter faced Tim Kennedy at the UFC 178 event in Las Vegas. They fought a very close first round and went toe-to-toe in the second, delivering an exciting fight for the fans. At the end of the round, Kennedy caught Romero with a good combination, and the Soldier of God somehow survived the round, although it seemed he couldn't recover from that, considering how tired and hurt he was.
What are they doing? They still have he's still sitting on the stool.
Romero returned in the third round with style, landing a big punch that dropped the American. Romero went after him like a man possessed, not giving him time to recover, punishing him with a barrage of strikes.
About Joe, be careful, Tim Kennedy. Bloody mess right now. Romero's on top of him.
After landing multiple unanswered ground and pound punches, the referee jumped in and saved Kennedy from absorbing unnecessary damage. Both warriors were granted a Fight of the Night award bonus. Yoel Romero was scheduled to fight the karate specialist Lyoto Machida in the next bout. Considering how good Machida is on the feet, many thought that Romero would finally use his offensive wrestling to neutralize the Brazilian's striking. However, the Soldier of God went toe-to-toe against Lyoto in a striking exchange that could go in each favor. They fought a close technical first round, and then in the second, Yoel was the aggressor who kept catching Machida with good combinations. As the bout neared its conclusion, the Cuban fighter maintained pressure on the Dragon, edging him in the exchanges. Finally, in the third, Romero took the Brazilian down with a beautiful outside trip and started landing ferocious elbows until Lyoto was unconscious. Another stunning victory for the Soldier of God that earned him another Performance of the Night bonus. At the end of 2015, Romero fought the high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and world champion Ronaldo Souza in a fight between an elite wrestler and an elite grappler. Both fighters had their moments and fought a close battle that could have been scored either way. They went to distance, and the Cuban fighter edged Souza on the judges' scorecards, with Jaquer being only the second fighter to survive a 3-round fight against Yoel.
Second to this fight. 10 seconds. Good round for Jaquer. They go the distance.
On November 12, 2016, Romero was scheduled to face the former champion Chris Weidman in one of the most anticipated UFC events in history, UFC 205 in New York City. Weidman is an NCAA Division I Wrestling All-American, and his wrestling credentials were almost as good as Romero's. He kept trying to take Yoel down in the first round, but the Cuban was reversing the positions every time and quickly returning on his feet. In the second, the American fought a good fight. Still, Romero found success in his takedowns, switching roles and showing Weidman the difference between an elite Olympian level and a Division I American wrestler. Finally, in the third round, Romero faked a takedown attempt.
And he's riding him here, and this has got to be incredibly frustrating. He's feeling that high-level grappling. There's national champions.
And Weidman tried to defend it instinctively. Then, in a blink of an eye, Yoel launched himself in the air and landed a vicious knee that landed clean and cut Weidman's head open as blood started to spill.
possesses. I mean, this fight could have been stopped right there. Force lets him take a couple really unnecessary shots. I mean, he flew it. I mean, literally launched himself through the air.
The Cuban fighter finished the job by delivering heavy ground and pound strikes, forcing the referee to stop the fight. He then proceeded to parade around the cage, saluting the New Yorkers while the poor home fighter was trying to regain his consciousness and realize what had just happened. Another spectacular victory for the Soldier of God earned him another performance of the night bonus. After winning 8 of his UFC fights spectacularly, Yoel Romero was at last granted a shot at the interim UFC middleweight championship against one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, Robert Whittaker. This fight was a beautiful display of technique and high-level MMA where none of the fighters would have backed down, in a contest full of excitement and unpredictable moments. The Australian fighter edged Romero on the scorecards and won a unanimous decision victory. Nevertheless, the Cuban fighter quickly redeemed himself in his next fight in the best possible way. He was scheduled to fight the former Strikeforce and UFC champion, Luke Rockhold, in the UFC 213 main event. Although Rockhold fought good 2 rounds, the Soldier of God once again shined in the third when he landed a huge left overhand that knocked the former champ down. The Cuban fighter followed it with another left that finished the struggling Rockhold. To make things worse for the American, the very excited Yoel immediately approached Luke as he was trying to stand against the cage and gave him a few comforting kisses. This spectacular victory granted Romero another shot at the middleweight title in a rematch against Robert Whittaker. Yoel did not make weight, and the fight was switched to a non-title bout. They fought a back-and-forth fight and delivered a war for the ages. Even though Romero almost finished Whittaker at one point, he was unlucky again, and the referees thought that the Australian did slightly better in that bout, granting him a close split decision victory. This was a kind of fight that you show your friends to get them involved in MMA. Not only they earned the fight of the night bonus, but this fighting spectacle was recognized as the fight of the year of 2018. On August 17, 2019, the Soldier of God faced the undefeated prospect Paulo Costa, who was storming the middleweight division. The Cuban fighter went toe-to-toe against the Brazilian and found success in the later rounds. However, Costa was the slightly better man that night and won the fight unanimously. Although Romero lost 3 of his last 4 fights, each of those contests could have been scored in his favor, considering how close they were. He might have lost those bouts, but wasn't outstriked, out-wrestled, or dominated. Despite the losses, the wars that Romero was able to deliver were enough to grant him another shot at the title, this time against Israel Adesanya on March 7, 2020. However, the fight itself did not meet the expectations. Israel Adesanya controlled the distance for most of the fight, tagging Romero with punches and smartly avoiding his power. The old Romero did not try to chase Adesanya and get a takedown, but accepted the technical stand-up exchange, which lacked action. Israel Adesanya was declared the winner, but Yoel also had to fight with his English that night. The frustrated Soldier of God was unhappy that Adesanya ran from him the whole fight and mentioned how people pay pay-per-view to see action, not running. This is what he had to say.
The people pay pay-per-view. The people pay. The people pay. The people pay because the people want to say, because I know the people pay.
After this fight, the old Romero decided to part ways with the UFC and signed with Bellator. He debuted with the company on September 18, 2021 against Phil Davis. Although he lost that fight via split decision, he quickly rebounded by winning a stunning TKO victory against Alex Polizzi in his next bout. On September 23, 2022, he faced the kickboxing legend Melvin Manhoef. Although the Dutch kickboxer possesses superior striking credentials, he wasn't a match for the Olympian, who easily took him down in the third and brutalized him with heavy ground and pound strikes. With this victory, at 46 years old, Yoel Romero is scheduled to face Fedor's prodigy Vadim Nemkov for the Bellator Light Heavyweight World Championship on June 16, 2023, at Bellator 297. Regardless of the outcome, Yoel Romero will always be remembered as a freak of nature who defied aging. His hard work and discipline are why he still fights at the elite level, and the new generation of fighters should take his training ethic as an example. Although he never won the UFC belt, he is arguably one of the best UFC fighters who never won the World Championship. He is slowly walking towards the retirement door, but the highlight reels and knockouts he gave us during his era will always remind us of how good Yoel Romero really was.